I thought you might like to sit with me by the fire tonight. I got it ready just a little bit ago and got Grandpa Fire going. But it seems I had some help in getting the pine that I used to start the fire. I had hoped to have a fire last night, but it was just too windy, and it's too far away from the house for me to have a fire down there with no water and with the wind blowing. So I decided I would wait until tonight and bring the fire pit up here closer to the house. So you may get to hear all kinds of interesting things like the dogs barking, or you just never know what you're going to hear around here. But I had picked up some pine sticks and pieces of limbs yesterday and put them in the tractor bucket so that I could take them down into the woods and have a fire there. But I decided that I probably wouldn't, and I would wait till tonight. So when I went to get the sticks out of the loader bucket to help me get the fire going, Matthew said, "Did you leave another pile of sticks down there by those pine trees?" And I said, "No. All I had up here was what I had put in the loader bucket." And he said, "Well, there is a neat little pile of sticks down there, and they're right by the road here in front of the house." So I went down there, and sure enough, somebody had gathered some sticks up, and I did get pictures. So I'm hoping I can figure out how to get them on this video too. But there's always somebody willing to help. And the Harry kids for sure love for me to have a fire when I'm outside doing things. And then at night, it's just really special for them. But the whole family seems to enjoy when we gather around the fire, or I'm just sitting out with Grandpa Fire. So I thought I would drum a little tonight and maybe sing a little. And then I'm probably going to tell a Bigfoot story or two. our prayers to the Creator. Great winged bird of the east, see us gathered below you. Hear our prayers for peace. Oh, Grandfather Eagle, carry our prayers on your wings. Oh, Grandfather Eagle, you who fly higher than all things, carry our prayers to the Creator. Great winged bird of the east, see us gathered below you. Hear our prayers for peace. Oh, Grandmother Eagle. Oh, Grandfather Eagle. Oh, Grandmother Eagle. Oh, Grandfather Eagle. That was a song written by a friend of mine named Crystal Woman that I met, oh my goodness, probably 20 years ago. And I always loved singing, and I love the eagles. And we have eagles here, and actually we had a pair nest probably not even a quarter of a mile from the house, which was so awesome to watch them and then watch the two babies fly. It was so much fun. I loved it. Kids loved it. Grandkids loved it. Everybody that came loved it. It was just so interesting to watch them. I have people ask me, why do I call the fire Grandpa Fire? And it's something that I've done for a very long time. I do hear a few other people call the fire Grandpa Fire. But it feels like a grandfather, one that you could sit with and just enjoy talking to. And my grandfathers were so filled with wisdom that it always just amazed me. And Grandpa Fire is like that. You know, people like to sit around the fire and just not even think, but just gaze into the flames. And there's a peacefulness about that and a connectiveness as well. It's one of our relatives. And so Grandpa Fire is someone that I've gone to many times when I was going through something, or I needed answers about something, or I just needed to sit in stillness and watch the flames. And part of the reason that the Bigfoot people enjoy it when we have a fire is because of how we feel when that's happening. They like to see us have fun and enjoy ourselves. And, you know, people say, well, they're always coming around if there's little kids around. Well, little kids most of the time are playing and laughing and having a good time. And they like to watch that as well. You know, as a little girl, I loved sticks and flowers and rocks and all kinds of things. And I was always sitting on the ground in the dirt, making houses or lining sticks up or flowers or rocks. And I totally enjoyed doing that. And the first encounter I had that I remember was doing just that. I was 6. I was at my grandmother's. I was playing with sticks and rocks and flowers and things, sitting on the ground. And I heard someone walk up. And I thought it was my grandmother. So I looked up, but it wasn't my grandmother. It was a young Bigfoot. And he was probably 10 to 15 feet most probably from me. And he was just looking at me and watching me. And I looked at him. And I know, you know, in my head, it's like, that's a really hairy kid. I knew it was a kid. And I knew it was a boy. And we just kind of stared at each other for a while. Then he turned around and walked back off. And I jumped up. I went into my grandmother and told her what I'd seen. And I said, "What was that, Granny?" And she said, "What do you think it was?" She let me think about it. But one of the interesting things that happened just a few years ago, before my mom passed, we were talking, and she said, "Arla, do you remember when you were 3 and we lived on Elder Street?" And I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember that story." And the reason I remember it is I was sitting on the bed. I was talking to someone looking in the window. The window was open. My mom was in the closet getting clothes out for the next day. My dad was taking a bath in the bathroom. And Mom heard me talking. And, of course, I talked everything, so it wasn't new for me to be doing that. But she looked in to see who I was talking to. And she looked at the window and she screamed for my dad. And she said, "Arla's talking to a dirty, hairy man that's looking in the window." And of course, Dad comes straight out of the bathroom, ran through the kitchen, grabbed a butcher knife, and off outside he went. So that story stayed in my mind. At that time, at 3, I'm not sure what my reference was for a Bigfoot child, or elder for that matter. But Mom got quiet, and she said, "Arla, do you think that was a Bigfoot?" And I said, "Well, Mom, what do you think?" And she said, "Oh, I saw a Bigfoot." I said, "Yes, Mom, I think you did." And she was so happy that she had seen a Bigfoot. And that meant so much to me because she brought something back to me that didn't register in my mind at that time, that was a Bigfoot I was talking to. And while we're talking about the Bigfoot, I see a lot of people posting and saying, oh, they don't want to be called Bigfoot. Or they don't want to be called hairy people, or they don't want to be called this, or they don't want to be called that. In almost 70 years of knowing them, I have never once heard from any of them that there are things they don't want me to call them. What we do in respect is the most important thing. But if it bothers you to call them a particular name, then don't call them that, because in your mind, that's not what you should be saying. So everybody has to look at it for themselves. I mean, they weren't even called Bigfoot when I grew up. That hadn't even happened yet. And even at that, Bigfoot was not a derogatory term that was given to them. It was given to them because of the big footprints that the Jerry Crew group had photographed and had seen and around their equipment. And so that's where that came from. Sasquatch, that came from a particular tribe and wasn't a universal term until some people started using it. And they thought, well, that sounds better than Bigfoot. So each person has to choose for themselves what they're going to call them in talking to each other about them. You know, I don't call them Bigfoot. They're family. They're neighbors. And so that's how I see it. That's how I was taught, and that's how I see it. And that was something my grandmother taught me too, and said there are neighbors. You know, and sometimes you see your neighbors and you talk to your neighbors, and sometimes you don't. Your neighbors have other things to do. Respect is key with them. Being respectful of what you do when you go into the woods, being respectful to each other, that's an important thing. You know, they willingly help us in so many ways. And there are people who are still having scary encounters that they relate. But that usually happens because the person having the encounter already has something in their mind as to what they are. And if you've been watching videos on YouTube about they followed me out of the woods, or they tried to get in my tent, or they beat on the side of my house, or a lot of other things, not knowing. And some of the stories are even worse than that. Then your encounter more than likely will be kind of scary to you, because that's what's in your mind. I'm very careful what I feed myself as what I watch, what I listen to. You know, it's as important what you watch and what you listen to and what you read as it is important of what you put in your body. And those are just simple things. You know, they're big, and they're hairy, and they're loud. And at the same token, no matter where I've been across the United States and into Canada, I've never had what I would call a scary encounter, because I have a respect for them. I was taught about them. I was never taught to fear them. I was never taught to fear anything. I was taught to be respectful. And if you're going out into the woods and hope to have an encounter with them, Just go in a respectful manner. Go with your heart open, your mind open, being respectful. When I go anywhere out in the woods, I usually greet them. Whether I know they're around or not, I usually just say, "Hi, guys." And I've had them respond to me on that. One of them's a video that's here on my YouTube channel, and it's called "Hi, Guys." I know exactly who that was. His name was Rujusna. And I was in my tent, sleeping on my cot, and I heard him coming up. He was never quiet, ever, when he came up. He was like a bulldozer. And that particular night, I heard him, and he gave me a greeting grunt. And there's also another greeting grunt on that. You can't hear it as well, but that was Indigo. So Rujusna and Indigo are coming up towards me, greeted me. I just said, "Hi, guys." And immediately, Rujusna gave me this silly howl that sounded like, to me, he was saying, "Hello," and I laughed at him. He wasn't coming up to get me or do anything to me. He was just coming up to see what was going on. You know, they know your heart. They totally understand your heart. And know your intentions as well. They know what you're thinking. So they already know what's going on in your head. I just tell people, talk to them. If you feel like they're around or not, just talk to them. Introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, why you're there, like you would anyone that you wanted to get to know better. To me, that's kind of cool. And then don't negate what it is you hear or what it is you fear. Don't just throw it out. If you can't wrap your mind around it at that time, then just file it away somewhere so that you have that reference at some point. That's one of the things that we have to do, is not negate things that other people are saying just because we don't believe them. Because we don't see or we don't understand doesn't mean that other people don't see things and totally understand it. So when things happen, don't talk it away. Just let it be what it is. I hope you've enjoyed Grandpa Fire with me tonight. I'm going to set for a little while more. And I'm going to sing my silly song that I always like to play when there's a group of people, because it gets really funny. Everyone sings in and, you know, has such a good time with it. And then I'm going to kick back and watch the stars Star people have been very, very busy the last few nights. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Ha 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 ha. Oh ho ho ho. Hee 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 hee. Ha 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 ha. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Ha 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 ha. Oh ho ho ho. Hee 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 hee. Yeah ha ha ha. I hope you have such a beautiful, blessed evening and a beautiful, blessed day tomorrow. I'm glad that you get to enjoy Grandpa Fire with me. And so many blessings to you all.